We're back for episode 54 of the Star Wars Newsnet Timeline Show. Gosh, I almost went back to 53. We're on 54, Luke. My name is Tyler, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow master of the sacred timeline, Luke Sheehan, and we will be diving into Edge of Balance Volume 2 today, as we are completing our tour through Phase 1 of the High Republic here on the Star Wars timeline. If you are new to the Timeline Show, welcome. Just know that this is a podcast, a show all about going through every single story of the Star Wars canon timeline in order to the best of our ability. Now, of course, if you are looking through this show's history and you're noticing that there are a few stories that technically are out of order, just know that we do take the liberty to change the order around just a little bit for like a narrative structure. For instance, this Edge of Balance story takes place, some of it before maybe the events that we see in like The Fallen Star. But we chose to do The Fallen Star first because of the climactic events that take place in The Fallen Star kind of supersede all of these other stories that follow, and those stories kind of feed into this one. So with that being said, Luke, are you excited and looking forward to talking about Edge of Balance Volume 2, which I feel like not a lot of people talk about, these mangas here from the High Republic?
That's a good point. I don't feel like they get their comeuppance very often, but they are good stories. I liked your little intro there about you could probably follow the exact canon timeline, and sometimes I am on Reddit and others sites with people like really diving into Star Wars and the reading order of legends and canon. I think I see a lot of people get really lost in the weeds with how to read the High Republic specifically, with how to read a lot of comics and books that tie together. Really lost in the weeds with like, okay, I need to read this comic issue, then this book, and then I go back to this other thing and I read that comic issue, and then a different. And it's like, I think for the sake of our viewers, I really enjoy, putting this in a way that like you understand what's going on. Like it's not
And it
going to
like
be,
narratively makes sense too.
yeah, exactly. So like the way that we did this little last wave of phase one, like we're going to hit Fallen Star first because that's what informs everything else that happens. So I like the way we do it
Otherwise,
here.
we're going to be like, all right, we're going to talk about the first third of Edge of Balance Volume 2. Then we're also going to mix in the first half of Midnight Horizon, followed by a short look at the Young Jedi Adventures. Oh my gosh, the High Republic Adventures. I say Young Jedi Adventures every time I talk about the High Republic.
It's the adventures that get you.
So anytime I talk about the High Republic Adventures comics, and then we'll go into Fallen Star. No, we go into the order that makes the most sense to narratively. And that's why they released Fallen Star before they released, all of those other things. Because while there are, comics and some of these stories that start off taking place before maybe the events of the Fallen Star, what happens in the Fallen Star is the event that connects everything together because of the fall of Starlight Beacon. So all of that to say, welcome to episode 54. We're talking about Edge of Balance Volume 2. This story is by Shima Shinya and Daniel Jose Older. And I honestly came into this one, Luke, as I cannot wait to get this one over with. I did not love the first volume. I thought it was fine, and there was the twist at the end that Zaret, who is thought to be this farmer on Banshee, is actually a member of the Nile, and we're like, oh, there's a big cliffhanger. But I'll be honest, I didn't really care about it too much. Like I was going into this one ready to move on from this so we could get into some of the comics that I think are a little bit more interesting right after. And then, of course, I am eager to rejoin our friends Kai, Liss, and Nubs for another journey through season 2 of Young Jedi Adventures. But I have to be honest, Luke, I was pleasantly surprised. It took me a minute to get into this, but I thought the last half of this, I was completely enthralled. I was really invested in the stories of Lily and Karen and seeing what Zerit would end up doing. There were some fun surprise guests that were added into this one. I think that enhanced my reading experience because I was excited to see them make their way here. And there was just some fun dots that were connected to comics we've talked about now that we're going into this. And so one thing I learned from this was that I'm very much excited for this timeline journey because, well, one, because it's a timeline journey, but something I wasn't necessarily thinking of before this was just the little tiny nods that I will get, or the little Easter eggs to all the other projects, or the little connective tissue that exists to all these other stories in Star Wars that I'll know about. It doesn't take away from the reading experience of someone who hasn't read everything, but it was like, oh, they're talking about the run race here on the tip. Oh my goodness, Lily knows, Lula and Zine, and they're having this talk about something, and oh, I know what they're going through. I don't know. I just really enjoyed that. I think the more we dive into comics and manga, like all this kind of stuff, especially, the more that will happen. So I will say I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I can say the same. The mangas are really fun, I think, but they're not always the most like hard hitting or the best things about the High Republic, but they're really cool. And I do think, like you just said, it's awesome to have payoff. Like the connective tissue, like it's just a really good point that like you feel really rewarded for reading High Republic Adventures, written by Daniel Jose Older. And so he's got a hand in making this story as well. So it feels really cool to see characters pop up, events pop up that you are like, I'm familiar with this, and I'm getting to see a different side of this from someone else's perspective. It's very rewarding. It's very fun.
Mm-hmm. So the first volume we saw Lily, who I'll put her on the screen here. So Lily, of course, is the main character of these manga, and she is the Jedi that we are following. And she's got these really cool samurai style like lightsabers, like she's got two of them, and they almost have the way they look. It's like they're sheathed almost, and it's just really she's a really cool character design. But what I noticed here, she's on the cover of the first one. It's all about her, but her Padawan Karen is on the cover of this one. And so the way the High Republic works is, no one is safe, right? No one has plot armor here for the most part. Like they're willing to cut ties with anyone at any time for the most part. And so I was wondering here if it would follow the same path of Karen is going to take over. This story would follow him a little bit more closely, and he would ultimately take over for Lily as like the figurehead and main character of the story. Didn't really work out that way.
It didn't really work out that way. Lily survives. Kieran can't really say the same.
Yeah, no. I was very surprised. So, of course, here's your quick synopsis, and then we'll kind of dive into it, of course, in the Edge of Balance, is that, the Nihil are, beginning their assault on the Outer Rim, kind of separating all the different Jedi from each other, severing communication, and that way they're trying to isolate Starlight Beacon, and Banshee's one of those temples that is, under Nihil assault, and Zerit, who was the Nihil infiltrator, is helping them sabotage the Banshee temple, sabotage what's going on, and setting the stage for this Nihil incursion. The Nihil have invaded, and the Jedi and the villagers, they're doing their best to try to protect for the Nihil, but again, they're completely outnumbered. And the big point of the manga that just hits you in the chest like just so hard is when Zerit pretends like he is under Nihil capture, like he is a captive, he's a prisoner, and in order to get Kieran to drop his guard, because Kieran, he's got the Nihil, like one of them, like the lightsaber by their throat. He's like threatening them, like, you need to disable, these weapons that are going to destroy the temple. And if you don't, like, I'll take out your men. And Zerit basically says, I'm prisoner, and drop your weapon. And Kieran, because he is, such a great friend and so giving, Zerit walks up to him and says, Karen, you're so kind, and completely loses guard, and then just pulls out a blaster and shoots him right in the chest. Like just absolutely blasts him. And when I saw this right here, Luke, this image right here, I thought to myself, did that really just happen? Or am I going to get a few like pages, like a few spreads over, and somehow someone's deflected the blaster bolt, like Sav, who shows up. We'll talk about that in a minute. She shows up, but like deflects the blaster bolt, or something happens where he's okay, but he's like grievously injured, right? Gravely injured. And that did not happen. The next time we see him is just his body being dropped.
It's super shocking, because High Republic readers are well acquainted with deaths, especially since we've read The Fallen Star and we've covered it here. There's a lot of death, but it's adult characters. It's people who are mature, who have lived life, who have had stuff to pass on to people. Their legacy impacts their Padawans. This is a Padawan. He had his whole life ahead of him. It hurts like double, triple, because he's not full grown yet. He didn't reach his potential yet, and so he's cut short. And like in such a nefarious, trickery, like deceitful way that he thinks he's saving his friend. His friend betrays him. It hurts a lot. Oh my goodness.
How much do we see of this in Star Wars? Like, I was thinking, like, how, like, this kind of death, I think, isn't something we see a lot in Star Wars. Am I wrong? Like, I don't think we see a lot of we see betrayal in Star Wars, right? Like, we've seen, Lando betraying his friends and turning them over to Darth Vader, right? In Empire Strikes Back. Like, he turns over Han and Leia, Chewie, 3PO, R2, or not R2, he's not there yet, but he turns him over to the Empire. Like, we've seen that story. Like, there's times in Clone Wars where we've seen, some betrayal happen on both sides, obviously. But I felt like this one was a little bit different, because like, you even think of like Barriss when she's betraying Ahsoka and she's trying to kill Ahsoka. It's very much like she's talking to her like, oh, you're my friend. And then later on, she's sneakily trying to, with a mask on, do this. Zara is, there's no mask here. He's pretending he's prisoner, like he's helpless. And he turns that, kind heart of Zaret, the compassion that he has to save his friend, into a weakness, and then just kills him in cold blood right there. Like, I couldn't think of another Star Wars death that I was familiar with that happened similar, like this way.
The only thing that comes to mind that's like even slightly tangential is Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens. It's Kylo Ren's kind of feigning, oh, maybe like my dad's getting through to me, and plunges him through the chest. Like, it's kind of similar, but this is pretty different from what we've seen.
Yeah, because like that one too is very much like a son, like, I got you, and he's like, are you sure? Like, and then boom. But at the same time, it's like Kylo, like when Kylo's walking out to him too, Kylo's not walking out like, Dad, I need your help. Like, you got to
exactly.
like, he's like his hands up. Like, Snoke doesn't have him by the throat when he's walking out there. Like, Dad, drop the blaster, Dad. It's just, it's a different kind of betrayal. Like, this one was very much like, it's very similar though, because he's turning Han's love as a father into a weakness in that moment. And this one is, so it is similar, but I couldn't quite think of because a lot of times there's so many things that happen in Star Wars, like, oh, that's like very much like the same kind of thing here, but that's might be the closest one. So it was one of those where I was not expecting to linger. My mind was not expecting my mind to linger on this story too much, and it did.
Yeah. I think the first Edge of Balance had a lot of legwork to do. I think it set up Volume 2 very well. So I think Volume 2 capitalized and finished out a good phase 1 of the manga. I think it was stronger. Gave us, you and I gave us something to really think about.
I enjoyed the point that you made about, Karen, he hadn't reached his full potential yet being a Padawan, because so a lot of the story is about how Lily says multiple times, and like, I'll put her back on screen here. Like, she says multiple times about how Kieran, I just believe you're going to go further than me. Like, you're going to go beyond like everything that I've done. And I want you to exceed me as a master. I want you to go further than me. And her last line to Kieran, like, he's dead and she's holding his body. And she goes, I always believed you go further than me, but this was a step, that I never thought I would have to cross, like you would cross essentially, which was, anytime you see this happen in Star Wars, it does break your heart because this is the closest we get from a Jedi perspective of, a parent losing their child. Like, this is the closest that we get of a parent having to bury their own kid. And in Star Wars, for the most part, when it comes to the Jedi. And so like this kind of that hit home, and it really shakes Lily to the core and alters her decision making. I am curious what your thoughts are on that, but I want to first talk about like her response to Kieran's death and like the poetic nature of that relationship and what she's saying throughout.
So a little reference to the Last Jedi. Um,
Mhm.
Yoda telling Luke, like, even when the process goes as naturally planned and as it should, that's hard enough to watch
Mhm.
your Padawan, go beyond you, grow beyond you, and become better and greater. And that's hard to watch as a master. And so for that to not even happen,
Mhm.
she's grappling with that like the natural course of the Jedi lineage can't even take place here. She's feeling failed as a master, feeling failed as
Yeah.
a community leader who's supposed to be leading Banshee as a settlement. There's
Mhm.
multiple levels she feels failure on, but especially the loss of her friend, her apprentice, like all these people wrapped up into one person for her, Kieran.
Mhm.
Um, she's devastated, but she also is someone who has been learning to be more fluid, to feel more emotion, less rigid.
Mhm.
So, in an odd way, it was a good opportunity for her to put those into use that she needs
Mhm.
to carry on.
Mhm. So the Nile have taken over, and the storm. Well, that hasn't happened yet. But the Jedi Yoda has brought, like Yoda has essentially summoned, and the rest of the council has summoned every Jedi back to Coruscant. Like we've talked about this in previous editions of the Timeline show. Every single Jedi has been summoned back to Coruscant, and here is, I believe, Luke, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the first very overt time we're seeing a Jedi say, I'm not going, I'm staying here.
I do
Like,
think
I
so.
don't think we
Yeah.
see that before. And because Comac does not answer that call, but he leaves the order. So he doesn't really count, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And Lily decides that I'm not going to Coruscant. And here it says the future of most other Jedi awaits in Coruscant. But as long as I still have strength, my place remains here protecting Banshee, which is a very interesting turn of events because just a few pages before this, she's trying to retreat and leave Banshee to protect what they have left. And due to like Sav, we'll put Sav on the screen, like Sav coming in and kind of changing some of that thought process and perspective, I think that it really opens up, for Lily, especially, one, what her true like purpose and calling is, and then what she's capable of. But I'm curious what you think about this, because I interpreted it that way, but I also could see someone saying maybe she's going down a path. I could see the through line of a path maybe she shouldn't be wanting to go down because she's going to stand firm and stand tall on Banshee rather than answer the call because she is emotionally tied to Karen's death in a way that might hinder her. I know I did not interpret it that way at all. But I could see maybe if someone decided to go that route.
I was not someone who took it that way. I do think her decision to stay on Banshee um, was led by the Force, and I think that's kind
Mhm.
of that's what she's been struggling with is feeling
Mhm.
the Force and listening to the Force more rather than just being fed off of the dogma and the rules that she follows closely,
Mhm.
but being like I said, like Arkoff, Master Arkoff, the Wookiee master, is trying to get her to be more natural. And I
Yeah.
think this is one of her first and biggest steps in her life of doing what the Force wants her to do. I think that's what
Yeah.
she's. I think that's what is going on here, and I do think she's the first, and one of the only Jedi to explicitly state, "I am defying the Jedi protocol to return to Coruscant. I'm staying here." Like we know of other Jedi, like even a major player of our Chris, she's trapped in this out of the storm wall. You know, spoiler alert, she's
What
out
storm
there.
wall? What are you talking about?
It's
We
not
haven't read that
happening
yet,
yet.
Luke, in the timeline show.
There's
That is our
many.
viewers. The
There's a
listeners don't know about the storm wall yet,
there's a
maybe.
couple Jedi who are prominent that we know that don't follow that, and I think Lily
Okay.
is one of the few who just
Mhm.
explicitly states like, "I'm not doing
Mhm.
that."
There's some that maybe get stuck or trapped, but she was
Stuck and
one
trapped.
that's
Yeah,
like,
but
I
she's
am
straight up
choosing.
like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I'm denying."
I'm with you. I think it really sets up like where her story could go next. But let's talk about, a favorite of mine, which is Sav Mulligan, who shows up here. And this was a pleasant surprise. This was a way for me to get more invested in the story because once Sav shows up, I was like, oh, anything's on the table now in terms of what could happen in the story from a tactics perspective. Because Sav is someone that she's gonna do it her own way. Like Sav is not going to just listen and follow like the strict rules and the strict protocols. She's gonna kind of do whatever it is that she feels like is best. And similar like how you mentioned, Lily's struggling with like following that dogma of the Jedi, which she does well and is not necessarily inherently a bad thing. Sav is someone that's like 100%. We go based on the vibes. And, she's like force vibes guru and is perfect kind of person for Lily to maybe see like, hey, there's another path here.
Yeah, I think that her introduction to Lily's life was like a divine happenstance of the Force. Like Lily needed someone um who, Sav is not like reckless
Mm-hmm.
and like a bad influence. She's actually Sav is great.
Mm-hmm.
She just does things super unorthodox. Yeah, you can nailed it. Like the Force flows through her and it speaks to her directly, and she doesn't really follow societal rules or any rules of anything. She makes her own rules.
Mm-hmm.
So for Lily to see that, I think the end of this story where she decides she's staying on Banshee, I don't think that happens without Sav's influence. And they definitely butt heads when they
With
first get
and
there.
Sav, like, is she staying on Banshee too? Like, Sav's not going to Coruscant either. She's like, that's for some today. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm staying back. And so I wonder if I haven't read volume 3 of Edge of Balance yet. Like, I haven't read it. So I'm thinking in my mind, oh, is that going to be a Sav and Lily's story or not? So like that's where my brain goes. Like I'm curious about that. Don't tell me. I don't want to know any spoilers. I know you've read it, so I don't want to know anything yet. Just like I
Yes.
decided, I don't know if I told you this, but I decided I'm not going to read the last 5 issues of both of the I've read the first like 5 issues of the High Republic comics. I'm not going to read the last ones until the timeline shows. I'm
Okay,
like
that's good
going
to
to go
know.
in without knowing anything. I thought it'd be fun if I kind of just went in with a blank slate for the last few issues.
I actually love that. Because
We'll see if
I
I actually make that commitment like last. I might cave.
for phase
That's the commitment right now.
yeah, for phase 3 of High Republic, I have read everything except 2 or 3 comic issues, which I'm
Mhm.
about to read in the next couple weeks. So, because my library just got them, but so I do have a lot of info of where this story is going, and I do know I think there are. That's actually tough to keep track. I think there's 5 or 6 manga volumes in the High
Okay.
Republic. One of them is Phase 2, which has already been covered year or two ago.
Mhm.
So we've got one, two, I think it's 3 that was Phase 2, volumes 4
Okay. So
and
it's volume 4.
5
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
are
sense. Yeah.
happening in Phase 3.
Okay.
So
Yeah. All right.
yeah.
That checks. That checks. I was just thinking, did I tell you my Kindle broke? I'm pretty sure my Kindle broke, so I can't
Ooh.
read anything right now. Well, I can, but like I have physical books that I am reading, but I have like 4 books in my Kindle that I was planning to get to. So now if I do, I have to do it on my phone, and that's no fun at all. So I'm thinking now I got to buy like a new Kindle at some point. And
How
I'm
did it
like
break?
really frustrated about it because like I don't know why it's not work. Like it's like won't charge. Like it just won't charge. Like I put like 2 different cables and it just won't charge. I don't
That's
understand.
yeah,
It
that's
is But like, I don't know what the shelf life for a Kindle is. I bought an older model when I bought it. It was not used, as brand new, and I've had it for like 5 years. So, but I don't know what the shelf life of a Kindle is. I feel like
I don't know either.
is that normal for Kindles to last 5 years and then you just get a new one and it, with Amazon and it just re-ups and you figure it
Yeah,
out? Or is that wow, Tyler, your Kindle should last longer than that? I don't know. Like, do you know the answer to that?
I don't have a good read on those. I
Yeah.
unfortunately there have been a couple times when I've only
I'll
been,
ask TikTok.
I've only had the digital option to read a book, and I just use my phone or my laptop. So
I'll ask the
I
masses.
wish I had a Kindle.
I'm gonna make a TikTok video as soon as we get done here. I'm just gonna be like, "Is this normal? I've had this for like 5 years. I don't remember what that like. This should I just get a new one, or can this problem go away? Like, or did I not take care of this well? And I don't know. Like,
You're gonna get flooded with like you should have taken better care of it.
I'm gonna get flooded with like, you're stupid, like you're dumb. Um.
You know who could
So
heal it though? Ruru from the
yes,
Banshee
tell me
settlement.
tell me about Ruru on the Banshee settlement.
She is kind of an underrated character. There's a couple people that are like settlement citizens who are like the Doctor and Ruru, who are definitely not Jedi, but they're major players ish, um, who help heal Lily or Arkoff or keep the children safe, Nima and Vivnia. Um, I think of Ruru and the Doctor a lot.
Mhm.
They go out of their way to like protect the kids, protect the rest of the settlement. They're community leaders, so they are really cool characters that you get to meet.
I'm with you. I couldn't care less about them. Like if they had died, I would have just moved on to the next page. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like there were some I would have been like, all right, sounds good. Like sorry, like rest in peace. Moving on now. But what? So the Nile, Luke, tell me what they're after here because they seem to be like very clearly wanting Banshee for some reason. They're trying to acquire something or there's like some reason the Nile are like not necessarily destroying the temple right away like they normally do. Like they're trying to get in and acquire like information. Are they trying to acquire an object? Like what was it we were trying to get here?
I could be way off here, but I feel like
Uh-oh.
this is heavily informed by the Phase 2 manga, which came after these. It gives you find out that what they want Banshee for is so bad is that Aslan Rel has made a diary of a bunch of information about the Nameless that the Nile don't even have. They have the Nameless, but they don't really have a lot of info about them, how to use them and weaponize them. So they end up really wanting more info on how to control
Mhm.
them, use them, and so they're really trying to find. They don't want to blow up the Jedi Temple because that's probably where the info is on how to
Mhm.
control the Nameless. So that's why it becomes a huge plot point and actually kind of a win for the Jedi to blow up the Jedi Temple on Banshee. That's which is what Lily does. She gets in her vector, gets in Sav's vector, blows up the temple because they have the Nile have taken over the temple. So, um, kind of a long-winded answer,
Yeah,
but I do think they're
but
after Nile stuff.
I cannot wait to talk about um the final stuff of the High Republic. Like, oh my
Dude,
gosh. Like
we're gonna have a
I can't wait to
time.
talk about Trials of the Jedi. Just I
Lily Torah Asi shows up in Trials of the Jedi. She's mentioned. She's
so
mentioned.
I cannot wait. Just some of the cosmic endings and the way it all ties together. I just even just thinking about it, oh my gosh, I just love the
It's
story so much.
so good.
Anyway, but that's last thing here. There's really not a whole lot else I really want to hit on here with Edge of Balance. This will be a shorter episode.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what prequel Jedi does Lily remind you of the most? There's someone that I very much think
Hmm.
of when when I'm reading Lily that I think of very clearly. I'm wondering if you think of that person as well.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking of Luminara.
Okay, not where I was going.
I don't know.
Explain.
I feel like
Maybe
Luminara
is it just vibes? Like what is it?
kind of it's pretty heavily vibes. I also feel like Luminara sticks to the code well. From
Hmm.
what we see in the Clone Wars animated series, she doesn't take a lot of liberties. She kind of makes a plan, sticks to plan, sticks to Jedi tradition. Kind of. I mean, I'm not a Luminara expert here, but
Hmm.
kind of the vibes.
I I kind of got like the Luminara vibes. I got like Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan. Like that's kind of what I get is someone
I can see it.
who really cares about people around him, but like, oh my gosh, the amount of time she's talking about policies and procedures and the way that we're supposed to be doing things. It feels like Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan just being that like, I'm just ready for quiet. Like it's almost like Sav is like coming in playing the Qui-Gon role of like, hey,
That's a
like
good point.
slap you on the head. Like, come on now. Like there's other ways to think about doing this. And when I just think about Dogma of the Jedi and following it really well, I think of Obi-Wan, who is very much like in the movies, he is the rule following guy, right? He's just going to follow the rules to the best of his ability. And he's going to do that even in like a lot of Clone Wars as well, right?
Yeah.
But the way he's different from the rest of the Jedi, though, is he still cares. Like he still loves, he still has that emotional heartbeat that like fuels him in many ways. And he's kind of like the perfect example, of like what the Jedi should be for the most part. Not that Obi-Wan's perfect, he makes plenty of mistakes. Obviously, his apprentice is Darth Vader. But I can't wait to get into Clone Wars.
That's gonna
I'd
be
let
so
you.
good.
It's gonna be bonkers. But anyway, all of that to say that I do kind of get that of Obi-Wan vibe from Lily a little bit.
Yeah, she seems to be now at the end of this book, set on a path to maybe break some of those traditions she's held so
Mhm.
close. So it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
so I'm excited. Luke, where are we going next here on the Timeline Show? We have Double Nickel episode 55 coming up here. So, what will 55 look like?
55.
You feel free to consult the spreadsheet that you created if you don't want to like go off the top of your head, unless your mind
Got it right
has
here.
memorized the spreadsheet.
It's gonna be Trail of Shadows next. A really cool 5-issue run from Daniel Jose Older as well. That's like probably
We're on
3
the
episodes in a row.
Daniel Older train.
And
Maybe
then
more, maybe 4
after
episodes in a row, right?
that
Because
that actually might be
we did
Midnight
Midnight
Horizon.
Horizon, and then we did like Jedi Adventures, or High
11
Republic
through 13.
Adventures, and then we did
This.
this Edge of Balance, and then there'll be like 4 in a row, I think.
So after Trail of Shadows, we've got the Eye of the Storm, but Charles Soule, which is going to be really fun. And then we're back
Those are
in
good.
that juxtaposed with Young Jedi Adventures.
Okay, so we got 2 episodes before we're back into Young Jedi
Yes.
Adventures.
Yes.
Okay, how many episodes of Young Jedi Adventures do we have left to watch? We have a lot, I think.
It's not as like we grinded through season 1 and 2. This is going to be maybe 5 or 6 of our episodes that are going to be 4, 5, or 6.
Well,
Of
that's like 12
Timeline Show.
episodes or whatever, because we do 2 episodes
Yeah.
a show.
Yeah.
So if it's
So
5 episodes, that's 10 episodes of Young Jedi Adventures. So
yeah.
I mean that's half this. I think it's like half of season 2.
Yeah.
So we'll be
So
there for a while. Which, hey, I can't wait to get back in the mix. It's always like with Young Jedi Adventures, it's so fun to watch. Like I enjoy watching it,
it really is.
I really do enjoy watching it. But then there are times when I'm like trying to take notes over it because we don't always podcast about it right then. And so it's not like I'm going to remember these random things. So when I'm watching it, I'm not watching it like I'm watching an episode of Andor where it's like I could talk about every episode of Andor 2 years later and in incredible detail, right? But it is one of those things where like the first 2 episodes of Young Jedi Adventures, I'm like, yeah, we're back. And then we get to like the 5th one, I'm like, all right, we're almost there. We're almost there. What's the first thing after Young Jedi Adventures? I'm just curious.
Should be
Like
Tales of Light and
episode
Life.
65. Oh, let's go. We're getting into some more. We have a few stories then we'll talk about. But that'll take us a minute because I want to take our time with those short stories. I think they're worth like we could do whole episodes on just one. So I want to take our time with those.
That book itself is a transition piece from phase 1 to phase 3. A little bit of phase 2, even in that book. So
I think, yeah, the very first episode of the Timeline show was a Tales of Light and Life book because
Yeah.
it was Queen
Axel
Blue Rivalry.
Greylark.
Axel Greylark, my guy, Axel Greylark, let's go. All right, Luke, anything else you'd like to share here before we sign off on episode 54 of the Star Wars Timeline Show, Witch Balance Volume 2?
I think we nailed it. I don't think there's anything else we have left. So I had a great time, actually. Like you said, it's not one that you would be racing to go read, but after you read it, you really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. It was a solid read. We will see you next time, hopefully very soon. There'll be Trails of Shadows here, but we got those coming up next for episode 55. It'll be a longer episode because we're going through, I believe, 5 comics in one episode. So it'll be a bit of a grind, but I think you all will enjoy it, of course. We'll see you next time. And as always, join Star Wars Newsnet live every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Check out last week's episode. It was a lot of fun. It was characters that we want to see again in Star Wars. Luke decided to skip the episode and he missed out because we had a great time going through all the different characters that we want to see.
But I'll be there this week.
But if you want like a little 1-minute segments on them, you can go to my TikTok page at Star Wars Book Dude for more. For Light and Life, everyone, remember, we are all just trying to protect Banshee.